Hello, everybody. My name is not Markiplier, and welcome to Rory's podcast. Oh God!
Well, with that introduction, welcome to my new series, A Talk With, which is basically me talking to other people within the fandom, mainly creatives, to kind of get their creative process and just an informal kind of discussion with other people. And I'm here with the wonderful, the amazing Jetty Rhodes.
Hi.
Now,
how are you all doing?
In fact, how are you doing?
My stock response to that question over the last few months has basically been, I am alive. Which, we realistically,
I
we
mean,
live in an age. We live in an age,
I mean, it's better than talking to the alternative. I don't want to be talking to no ghost here.
Hey, do not be. What would the word be? Do not be bigoted against, ghosts and stuff. They may entirely want to come on your podcast and talk to you about how making Doctor Who fan films beyond the grave, from beyond the grave works. So, they may want to do that. You never know. You never know.
Really, it's not the first time I would have gotten a call from a ghost this year, because I think I told you about what happened the other time it happened. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean that does happen. To be fair, you do hear stories about that stuff. I mean, my wife and I are big into like ghosts and like the beyond and stuff. So you ever turn around and tell me that you've had an encounter with a ghost? I'm like, okay, cool.
Who you gonna call this shit?
I don't rock the spectacles quite as well as Egon Spengler, but to be fair, actually no. Oh my god, I could put on my brainy specs.
The brainy
if I could actually fit them through my headphones. Yeah. Now, believe it or not, nobody ever sees me in these, but I do actually need glasses. I'm short-sighted as all hell. Oh yeah. So like without them, writing on posters and stuff is really blurry. But I just can't be asked wearing them because I'm incredibly lazy. So yeah. It's all good. It's all good. Also, this is the first time I've actually tested using this mic with this laptop, so my sound is great. My video quality perhaps less so because crappy laptop webcam, but it's okay. We're going to keep trying.
Yeah, well, I've borrowed my sister's webcam because my other webcam keeps going in black and white for some reason, and I'm not sure why.
It really, really wants you to do a noir story as the techno doctor. It wants to push you into that. It wants to push you into that Vangelis style synth noir. So, you're going to film in black and white, and then I'm going to come in, layer some sick synth beats over it, turn it into a gunship music video.
I've always wanted to do something in black and white. I don't know why. I think it's because, like, I just love that style. It's like, Zack Snyder.
It's moody as fuck. That's the thing. Yeah. And the thing is, you're not wrong. There is something vaguely... Justice is Grey. There's something vaguely Zack Snyder about it, but I think just in general, like on a really superficial level, it just looks artsy as fuck to have black and white going off.
And I think it just adds a different level of atmosphere compared to color. Like you watch the classic Doctor Who, Troughton and Hartnell, and it just works. And I mean,
I think there's something more horrifying about it as well. There's something just more horrifying about it as well. Like, you can make shadows look deeper and brights look brighter. You can create scary. Yeah.
If I were to do like a horror film, I'd use black and white over color any day of the week. I think it just works. It just works better, especially like with you see it in a lot of like college and university short films when they're trying to like do a deep subject and everything, and there are a lot of I say that because like I was I recently ended college recently, and they did this kind of award show last night, which was pretty it was pretty cool. Like my teacher came out dressed as Elvis. It was pretty cringe, but in a good way.
the good kind of cringe, as long as your teacher didn't then decide to sing like Elvis.
They mouthed to the music, but they didn't sing, thankfully. But
well, thank you very much.
But they showed a lot of the short films, and a lot of them were in black and white. I didn't get an award, but I did steal one. But
and is that not truly what man has dreamt of since he first crawled from the trees, stealing random stars at college award ceremonies?
It beats my actual last day, because that was just them bringing in microwave pizza. and we used it as a frisbee because we flipped it. It was on the plate and it was stuck to the plate. It was that bad, and we would flip it and it would stay on the plate. So we just threw it across the class.
Happy last day at college.
Oh
Have
yeah,
a pizza frisbee.
I mean, it kind of
God.
sums it up really well.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, oh God.
Mm.
You know, I feel like before we continue, I should probably tell people who the fuck I am because, like, in the nicest. Okay, so in the nicest possible way, like, you know, I'm presuming if you're watching this, you viewers of the future, hello in the magical space year 2022, but tomorrow. You know, hello in that magical space year. So unless I've magically, you know, upped in subscriber count and stuff, I don't think many people know who the hell I am. So yeah, I'm Jed. I do things and stuff. To be more specific, yeah. To be more specific, I have been a fan doctor for 11 years. I have, yeah. I'm not even. No, the thing is, I've not even been doing it the longest. So technically, I think Nathan Carter from NTC, amongst. Okay, we'll get into the generations thing, but suffice it to say, there's a few guys who've been doing it longer than I have, but I've been doing it a while. And I will probably continue to be doing it for a while. So I started out on the channel Lungbarrow Brothers with me and my mate Anthony making short fan films back in the, you know, distant archaic past of 2011, 2012. Then I sort of continued making stuff on Man at Desk Productions. Brilliant name. I was so inspired when I was in my early 20s. Yeah, so Man at Desk Productions is where I sort of continued making fan films and stuff, and also fan audios and stuff. And those of you who know Rory's channel, Rassalon Productions, will probably know me from the time that I wrote funny that, you know, Rory being on his own channel. But yeah,
could have guessed that.
Yeah, but you'll probably know my work from the fact that I was about half of Endgame of the Doctor episode 2. I was about half of that, purely because I talk a lot, and Rory took advantage of the fact that I talk a lot, which, you know,
when you say it like that,
fair play. And then I decided, you know what this channel needs? George.
George.
Hey. I heard you like George. So I put George with George and George fighting against George. So you can have George whilst he's fighting against George alongside George and George. So, you know, because what else are you going to do except have a maximal number of Georges? And I think hilariously, for those of you who are vaguely interested in George Geiger's Blonde Doctor from DW 2012, or should I say formerly from DW 2012, since he technically, you know, since those shorts are currently absent without leave. Yeah, they're absent without leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, so George Geiger's Blonde Doctor, technically, even like not taking that into account, I think technically I have written more Blonde Doctor content than anyone else.
Yeah, you have actually. I think even taking that into account, I think have I? I wrote the one. So
you wrote the one with Swarm from so that's about 20 minutes in that standalone,
and then he was
in episode 1, which is another 15-20 minutes, so that's 40 minutes there.
Yeah,
so obviously I've written I think We Surpass is about 30 minutes, so there's that, but then I've written at least 2 more. I've written one other complete script which has him in it, and there's also like one other script that I'm writing which has him in it, and there's obviously more stuff because,
of course,
you know. So basically, technically speaking, I have written more Blonde Doctor content than anyone else. Well, no, because I think you know, if one takes, you know, his one live action appearance as the Blonde Doctor into consideration, there's I'd say about an hour of him in that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so I think I've just about squeaked that out. Obviously, George wrote his 2 shorts, which were about 30 minutes between them, give or take.
Haircuts in the Garden, which were very good, extremely good,
incredibly good. You know, and one day I hope will again be very good. But yeah, so yeah. So yeah, I technically have written more Blonde Doctor content than anyone else, which is kind of hilarious, but I kind of owed George that because George was the only person who ever actually watched my shit for the longest time. So, adjusting myself because comfortable chair. So yeah, you will hear me, by the way, people of the magical space year of tomorrow, AAAD. You will hear me complain a lot about the fact that nobody watches my shit. Please understand that this is in jest, and I don't actually mind too much being a small creator. In some respects, in other respects, it would be really great to get noticed. Or sorry, it would have been a couple of years ago really great. I think it's safe to say I've sort of been noticed now.
Yeah, I think
sort of.
You mentioned it. I think there is, especially with the lockdowns recently, I think there's a lot more smaller channels, great gaining traction. I mean, I only started, it's 2019, 2020, something like that, a few years ago, right, like at the height of the pandemic. I don't think if I started before then that I'd have many subscribers at all or any notice. I think.
Well, you hit like the sort of double zeitgeist of people wanted content to consume because they were inside a lot more, and also because you were doing audio, people who do audios wanted content to be part of. So it's a sort of double zeitgeist, double kill. So you were the thing is though, it is always this combination of luck and hitting upon the right people. So yeah,
the first right person for me was Davis. Obviously, he was very big. He was probably my the first like YouTuber I'd really talked to on this platform. I think I messaged him around sometime around Christmas time, 2019, something like that. And I remember like jumping across the house because this was like a big deal for me because like I didn't know how to react because like I'd been watching his content for quite a while, and I remember like just running around the house and like with a smile on my face.
No, the thing is though, like for real, that's good, because what I think is interesting about the stuff that you've done is it's got a massive scope. It's really good. It's got a lot of meaty material. It's inclusive, which is important. Like you've been ridiculously accommodating of some of the crazy stuff that I've wanted to do, which is good. And I think what's interesting is I have a sneaking suspicion, if one were to sort of sit down and really think about it, you're probably quite literally the next generation of fan content creator. So I've had a theory about this for a fairly long while, which basically goes that there were 3 generations. I think you probably count as the 4th, which is wilderness era fan creators. Love a lot of those guys' work, but that was quite an insular crowd. Because obviously they had a different experience of making fan content than people
different environments.
Then there was, God forbid me having to mention this person, the Brett Underwood era, which is, people like Brett Underwood when he was making content as Tony Coburn. But, alongside him were people like Chris Walker Thompson. And to a certain extent, I'd say people like NTC Pictures probably counted as well.
That's probably around that time.
The sort of reductive way of describing them would be young fans in their back gardens with green screens, which is, that's a reductive way of describing it. It doesn't nearly cover enough. But that was the first upsurge in new technology making fan content more of an accessible thing to create. And then there were sort of the people who built up from that. So that was your DW 2012s, your MB and Homelands, people like that, who sort of built upon the foundation that was, unfortunately, your Tony Coburns and such. But it's interesting because Longbarrow Brothers sort of occurred in between generations. So we started in 2011. We were right before 2012 started, like properly started, give or take. We were after Coburn and Co had sort of had the majority of their content out. And we never really hit a zeitgeist purely because we were making, like, if you ever go back and watch the Longbarrow Brothers fan films, they're old school. And I mean like proper old school, like model effects, a very old fashioned TARDIS set, but a very small, cramped little TARDIS set. Minimal like monsters and stuff. A lot of it was POV shots, a lot of it was model shots, a lot of it was creepy stuff for the sake of having something that was cheap to film.
Yeah.
And Anthony as a director has a very horror movie. He has a lot of that sort of cheap, low budget filmmaker sense about him, basically. And what I did when I went over to Man at Desk was first I sort of superficially aped that style. So I had a lot of the same superficial stuff, which is not to deride the stuff that I did, because I'm still quite proud of some of the stuff that all of the stuff that I put out, because I had some really great performances from the cast and stuff.
You definitely should be proud of it, and I think no matter what people produce, I think they should be proud of it, unless, you know.
Well, producing content is fucking hard.
Oh,
and this is the thing that I think everybody has to sort of accept about fan content, is it's really hard. The one that I'm most proud of, though, like of all the fan films that I've made, the two big ones that I'm most proud of probably are The 1,000 Deaths of the Doctor, which was one starring my friend Matthew Mills. And that was, we did a time loop episode basically before. He keeps joking that Heaven Sent nicked our shtick, but to be fair, Heaven Sent isn't about the loop. Heaven Sent is about the Doctor and grief and stuff, whereas we were just character,
you know, insight.
Yeah, whereas we were just doing the time loop, because I thought, what do I want to do? I want to do a time loop episode. I like a time loop episode.
Everyone loves a time loop episode.
And you know what? It was fucking amazing. I loved doing it. It was fun. So, you know. And then the other one that I'm really proud of is one from the recent run of fan films that I released, which was The Base That Came Back, because I just thought to myself, fuck it, I'm leaning full into handheld camera work, and I'm leaning full into like horror movie, you know, stuff. And it might not have been very good, but I enjoyed it. So,
well, I think a lot of that sort of style has its place in Doctor. I think it really worked with the show, especially, you know, with fan content, and even in the show itself. I think it just really works, especially with the early days of fan content. It all has its charm, and it works nowadays as well. I think just as much as it did then.
And I think the thing is, like, the thing that I think is, I'm going to shill you for a minute here. I think the thing that's good about what you're doing, but I think in all fan content, the best fan content is when it's not just trying to be an era of the show. It's trying to make its own tone. So the best thing about Longbarrow Brothers, the best thing about Man at Desk is it's never been trying to ape the tone of existing TV Doctor Who, what's on currently. You know, so, you know, what you're doing doesn't ape the tone of existing Doctor Who currently. What, you know, MB and Homeland, for example, as one of the big creators, their best work was when they stopped aping the tone of the TV show so much and decided, you know what, fuck it, let's just have epic stuff and fistfights and battles in woods and a bunch of depressed, moody looking people. You know, that's, you know, suddenly that's when it went from very technically competent, but, you know, in a way predictable Doctor Who to really good.
That's one of the best things about producing fan content is you can, you know, you're outside of the show. You're not following the same rules, the same, you know, because one thing I want to do is I want to step out the genres that Doctor Who is locked into. That's one thing I've discussed with you quite a lot on quite a few other
this is it. You know, this is it. Like, you know, all the best, you know, MB and Homeland did it, DDK did it, you know, they've all, when they were at their best, they stopped being the TV shows Doctor Who and they started being the creators Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And I think which is not to say that there aren't Doctor Who fan film creators who, what's the word I'm looking for, who do ape the tone of the show and do that with a modicum of success. Okay, so
of course.
From a purely technical perspective, we have to give props where it's due to, say, DW 2012, for example. Props where it's due. That has done a fairly good job of aping the tone of existing TV Doctor Who and saying, you know, here is TV's Doctor Who, 45-minute episodes, you know, orchestral music and stuff.
Of course, I do really enjoy DW 2012. You know, like Dom's era in particular is one of my favorites, as it's lining up Dom's era currently, because of course at the moment,
Dom's era, you know, version 1 and version 2, basically.
I mean, one thing with fan films as well and fan videos, of course, you're not limited in how you run it and how everything. But I think one thing, I don't know what it is, but if you're going to, you know, reflect upon the show's formula or do your own, I think it's my only criticism of how time flies, but when music from DC showed up, that was the only thing that took me out of that episode because it was really, really good of an episode. I know you've got some strong thoughts on this, which is why I brought it
yeah.
up.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But it was, that because of course you make music. No,
I make music.
The Doctor Who fan community, and of course I do like DW myself. I really, really enjoy Dom stuff.
I have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect. Okay, and let me be clear here. So there are a couple of things I need to say before I start getting onto this. Whoa.
You're right.
Sorry. I think I had something open and it played through my computer sound. But no, what was I saying? No, shut up. I don't want you to play music at me. I just wanted to look myself up because I'm an egotist like that. But yeah, so the first thing I'm going to say, and this is important, is fan films, even ones that have flaws, even ones that as products are not perfect. Fan films are incredibly difficult to make. Fan audios are incredibly difficult to make. And it should never be taken as a reflection on the people making them when critiques are made of fan films and fan audio. And the thing is, there's no such thing as perfect fan material anyway.
I don't think there's anything like perfect in anything really. Even the official show has its flaws. I mean,
absolutely.
And of course, us as fan creators, we're limited in a way with a lot of our resources. We don't have a budget or money or anything.
And the thing is, like on the flip side, I feel like the nicest way of putting it is a lot of people are relentlessly over positive about fan material to the point of, you'll get comments a lot to the effect of, you should be the real show. This is like the real show. No, it's not. And it shouldn't be.
Those comments are ridiculous.
No, those comments annoy me because,
it's nice, but it's like, it's they're trying to be nice.
They are trying to be nice. But it
kind of, in a way, I kind of find it inadvertently patronizing, I guess. I don't know why.
Yeah, but the thing is as well, it feels so superficial because it's like it feels like it lacks an understanding of why something is only fan material as opposed to original material. No, but the thing is as well, on the flip side is there are some fan creators who obviously will react very defensively if you criticize them. And I understand. I've had arsehole comments, but when I had arsehole comments, I just didn't respond to the arsehole comments because
I will say this, when I started fan content, I was early 18. I'm 19 now, but I got really defensive when anyone would do a negative review of my work or say something negative about my work. Obviously,
as you do. But the thing is, like,
I've learned a lot since then because I was very angry back then and didn't know how to react to something like that. I think obviously I wasn't accustomed to people actually viewing,
seeing your stuff
and not learning from it. I kept on I think that's a great thing about negative reactions just as much as positive reactions is obviously there are people that were overly negative. I think I was watching Torchwood 2000 the other day and someone in the comments was just pointing out every flaw in like,
oh yeah. And the thing is, and the thing is, that's not helpful because when you're giving criticism, you have to acknowledge the things that something does well. At least when you're giving proper criticism and you're not just riffing on something. But I feel like it's important to be able to give critique where things can be improved. So the two big things for me is I am, as you say, a music composer. So I've composed, as of right now, and that's my mother-in-law. Sorry, my mother-in-law is staying over, so her camp bed is down here in the dining room. So sorry, I'm just recording at the moment, just so you're aware. Okay. My friend says hello.
Hey.
But yeah, so he's not editing this, folks. You've got to see that or hear that. Isn't that nice? Yeah. Don't worry, my mother-in-law is nice and she says hello to all of you too. But yeah, so there are 688 videos on my YouTube channel with taking into account that a lot of those are covers, taking into account that there's about 50 videos which are just Doctor Who themes, including some for you, and taking into account that there are things like vlogs and gaming videos and stuff, I'd say there's about 550 pieces of music on there, and the vast majority of them are original. That's how much I've done, and that's how seriously I take the craft of music. So there's that, and I have a master's degree in writing. So, or specifically, I have a master's degree in drama, which had a focus in script writing. So for my master's degree, I wrote scripts. So for me, the two big things that almost every piece of fan content does without fail, that I will always pick up on, and I will always go, writing. There's some real clunky ass dialogue out there, and music, where, it used to be Murray Gold, there's a bit of Sagan in there now, but always just ripping content, ripping music from existing stuff, instead of, really giving music the attention that it's due.
One thing with my content is that I use Murray Gold as well. I do. And I do prefer using original music. Of course I do. Of course everyone does. But of course, especially with yesterday with my recent Torchwood Darker Days stuff, at episode 2, it was kind of, it was kind of a comedy, and I kind of used music from the eras prior to the 80s, because of course it was Adele from the Bannerman sequel, but I also used another, I can't remember, greatest show. But of course, with original music, of course, depends on the output, I guess, how much people are outputting.
This is it.
This
is it. It's a difficult thing to really, what's the word I'm looking for? When you're getting original music done, it depends on the composer, it depends on what you want, it depends on a whole host of factors. And I
guess kind of with Dark Days in particular, it's kind of, I do use original music here and there, but I feel like it depends on what you're trying to produce, what you're trying to do with it. So with Dark Days, a lot of it is about past Doctor Who stuff. So using
past Doctor Who music, etc.,
can be a good thing.
This is it though, is okay. I think the way you use existing music is probably the best way that one can use existing music, because a lot of the time existing music is used instead of thinking about music. So it's, instead of thinking, okay, this is the story I want to tell, this is how I want the music to serve the story I want to tell, a lot of people are just like, oh, it's Doctor Who, so I'm going to put Murray Gold in it. It's Doctor Who and it's an epic moment, so I'm going to put this thing in it. It's Doctor Who and it's this, so I'm going to put this thing in it. And it's like, okay, that sounds bad and it doesn't fit and it doesn't work, and you've literally just put it in because you've not thought properly about it. And whereas, what you've done is obviously thought about it. You've thought, okay, I'm making something, it actually connects to these eras, I'm going to use it because it connects to these eras, because I'm telling a story that's about all these eras.
I mean, in terms of dialogue as well, I can, as a fan creator, I can obviously point out my flaws as well, my negatives. And in the past, I'd say, especially when I was starting to write, I'd say I was really shit at writing exposition, like terrible. I remember in Sacrifice of Akaton, which was my first fully cast one, I just include a few references here and there that just did not fit. And it would go on and on, the dialogue, especially my fully cast stuff back. And of course, quite a lot of the time now I write kind of some monologue stuff, quite especially, with Jack Reeves as 10. I am straying further away from that because, of course, it is, I'd say, good, I hope. With in the past, especially with Sacrifice of Axton, which the original was down now, because of course I want to improve them, because the stories are there. I think with fan kits, I think one thing that we can do is we have unlimited time. We have all the time we need to put a lot into what we do. Of course, the real life factors into it as well. So if you don't, you don't.
Yeah.
But most fan creators, I'd say, have months.
Well, this is it. Is that it's not a case of necessarily having unlimited time in the sense of having all the time in the world with which to spend making stuff, but we work to our own schedules as opposed to it being our jobs, for example. But I think no, the thing is, like in your case, you're 19. You'll learn. This is the thing. I was kind of crap when I was 19. I was kind of crap when I was 18. But I got better. Everyone gets better. That's how that is the craft of writing, and you can tell that you are improving. Which is, I'm not. The worst thing for me is when I see that people haven't improved. When I see that people, who have been doing it for years, have stagnated in something where I feel like they should grow. And I could make comments. Frankly, I could make comments, but there are people out there who are successful who aren't good writers and haven't grown particularly as writers, that their dialogue is shoddy or their storytelling is shoddy. And you can excuse a shitty costume in fan films, you can excuse a lot in fan films. But the craft of writing is free. Like if you have a phone and the Google Docs app, you can write and you can craft and you can hone that craft. It's so that's the one thing where I'm going to sort of be like, no, if you haven't improved in 6 years, do better. And that's not me trying to gatekeep fan content by any stretch of the imagination. That's me saying if you're not improving in a very integral part of the craft of creating fan content, something's clearly wrong there. And some of it comes back to that positivity bubble, and some of it comes down to the fact that I have a master's degree in writing, and most people watching fan films probably don't. So, they're not going to be able to point at that and go, yeah, that's kind of shit dialogue. But some of it
said, it's not about gatekeeping writing, fan film making. Because I think if anything is inclusive, it's making fan films and fan audios. I think it's one of the most inclusive things you could do within this fandom.
Absolutely.
And but then again, everyone has room to improve. I feel like if you everyone over time should improve. I know I have. I know, and
stagnation is death. Stagnation is death. And if you're stagnant in your art, it's not gonna reflect well in the stuff that you're creating fundamentally, because it's gonna,
I think making fan films and fan audios more than films, but it can be limitless. Like there's no limits to what stories you can tell, mainly in fan audios. Of course, there are limits to fan films depending on budget,
money. Oh god.
Yeah, but even with like budget, even like there's a limit there, because even if you have all the money in the world, there's going to be a budget to what you're able to do and what you're able to commission others to do.
I mean, this is it though. Is we'll get more onto the topic of like money and stuff in a little bit, because I have thoughts, but to a certain degree, it should sort of be said that except for like the highest budget fan films out there, there's no such thing as a fan film with a high budget. There's no such thing as a fan film with a passable budget. There's no such, like, there's fan films which just about have the budget to make a shitty student short horror film, and they're trying to make and again, I'm not criticizing anyone when I say some fan films really don't know how to use that budget, but like some fan films have clearly had people spending money for like traveling to places and going places, and they've tried to tell stories that are way beyond their reach, when actually it would have been more interesting to stay within your reach somewhat. And like, here's an example. And again, this is not me criticizing, but I'm going to actually name fan films now. So if you watching this from those specific fan films see this and you think I'm being shitty, I'm not being shitty. I'm just saying. So I would envision that, roughly speaking, DDK's last story, which I think what was it called? The Last Doctor? I think that was it, wasn't it? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. So The Last Doctor and Fall of the Doctor, which was the DW 2012 Regeneration story, I would envision that they had similar amounts of money spent on them. In terms of like camera equipment, in terms of like people traveling to places, etc. I would probably say DDK spent that money better because, and I have all the respect in the world for the epic scale stuff, and I think Fall of the Doctor does well in terms of trying to do epic scale stuff. But the Last Doctor has a bunch of guys running around a wood, but the costumes they're not necessarily like high budget costumes, but they're uniform. You know, you got 5 guys all in these Gallifreyan uniforms. You know, you've got the really cool costume for the Valiard that's, you know, this rugged pseudo doctorish thing. You know, you've got fucking slick as hell camera work, you know, like proper slick as hell camera work. That is somebody that's looked at the budget, looked at what they can achieve, looked at what they have the money to do, and they've said, you know what, we can do this, and this really, really well for the amount of money that we have. Let's do it. And the result looks fucking slick. Like it's not the TV show level of slick, but it's a really slick finished production. Whereas, you know, I mean, DW 2012 is fantastic in terms of the amount of money spent on it, but it doesn't hold up the same way because they looked at their budget and they thought, let's try and do this much. But the result is shots that are quite clearly the same Dalek composited in 5 times, or the same Sontaran costume, but the guy's been composited in 10 times. There's that one shot of like an army of dudes, which it's impressive. Visually, it's impressive. And like you think about the compositing work that was done, it was really, really, really like hard work, I can imagine. But, you know, on a purely technical level, that's a lot more obvious and a little bit ropier than the stuff that DDK achieved. And that's, again, this is not me trying to be a dickhead about it.
Yeah,
but,
I understand.
You know, but the thing is, like, knowing your budget is part of writing, you know? So there was this really clever thing that Russell T Davies said when he was writing Series 1 and when he did the companion for Series 1, which was, you know, basically to a certain extent, he wrote for the budget he wanted to sort of force the BBC's hand. But at the same time, when he wrote it, he was budget conscious. Oh yeah, we can reuse this set here. That's why you've got, you know, Satellite 5 twice in that series, because they can reuse it that way. You know, he's budget conscious. He's being canny about it because he knows he has only got a limited amount of money to play with, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, to look at DW 2012 again, How Time Flies. There's an episode which, again, that has a set budget. Clearly, that has however much money these people were willing to pay.
I love How Time Flies.
But that's you know, that is, and this is you know, this is where I think the lessons have clearly been learned. That's a slicker production because instead of telling a massive, super big invasion-y story, whatever, you know, this is a bunch of people who basically said, we can make this story and we can make this story look fucking cool. And that story looks fucking cool because they've looked at, and, you know, that relationship between writing and budget and writing and actually achieving, that's an important thing. That's something that, I think, again, it's part of the craft of writing.
I think another example of that, DW 2012, again, that I think used the budget effectively was Eternal Darkness, the redone one. Not the original, but I really like Eternal Darkness. It's probably my favorite out of Series 1 of their stuff, and probably it's probably one of my favorites of all their content. Really, it's really well done, really well made. It doesn't. Of course, there are really ambitious shots, like, you know, they do the Dalek, the huge Dalek.
The catacomb of the Dalek.
But that's really well done as well. It's not like.
But this is that was a case where they said, all right, we're aiming for this scale, but now we're going to be cannier about it, and, you know, that's a learning curve thing. I
think a lot of it has been learned after you know, because they're redoing Series 1 to 4, aren't they? I feel like looking at. Because I've seen the originals of Series 1 to 4, and looking at the originals of those compared to now, I think they have learned. That is a learning curve on
this,
how
this is it though. That is something where I will 100% give plaudits to, you know, people like DW 2012. Those guys have developed as filmmakers. Ton. That's genuinely impressive for what they've achieved. I mean, on the flip side, we can then point to How Time Flies and say they just used At the Speed of Force for that one scene. And it's like, really? And the thing is, me sitting here as a composer, knowing that Dom's Doctor has a theme, which I've actually done covers of on my channel. It's a really good theme. But knowing that Dom's Doctor has a theme and then knowing how At the Speed of Force works, because At the Speed of Force isn't just, oh, it's a cool guitar riff. At the Speed of Force it's got the Flash's theme, which is that guitar riff, but then it brings it back to the the Crew at War Power theme, to the Justice League theme that Tom Holkenberg created. It fits where it was designed to fit.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Using it out of context as a musician, that feels wrong, and it looks and it's a damn fine rendition. Samuel Kim music, the person who did that rendition, is a fucking genius. But
they're brilliant. They are truly magnificent at their craft. Like,
oh yeah,
I listen to their music covers all the time. They're brilliant, but it just,
it feels a bit like it doesn't quite fit, and because it doesn't quite fit. And sorry, DW 2012, I am a musician. This is my B. All right. Feel free to go watch my shitty little fan films with me and my wife and my kids and point out all the shit I've got wrong if it makes you happy. But I'm just saying, as a musician, okay, and I love you guys. You do really good work. But as a musician, that song doesn't fit. Okay? It doesn't. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I'm being horrible. I know. And to a certain extent, guys in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, because obviously people could then go to my fan work and poke a metric ton of holes in it. But
that's not necessarily a bad thing either. I think there is a fine line with like really overly judging fan content that you've got to walk when like criticizing people, but there's also like they shouldn't not be. If that makes sense. Like, you can't be overly critical because they've got limited resources. But
this is it though, is that, say for example, look at DDK. You can criticize the fact that, earlier on some of their writing's a little bit off still. Maybe the Doctor comes across as a little bit too unlikable. That's a criticism that I've seen leveled at DDK, but on the flip side, that's something that they then clearly noticed, and they've toned that down and they've done stuff to that. It's a progression thing.
Yeah.
You cannot progress. You cannot progress if you don't then look at people and go, oh, okay, so that's an actual criticism. Do I agree with that criticism? If no, fine, ignore it. If yes, maybe I can fix that. Then fix that. And it's,
I agree.
And there are criticisms, like clearly people criticized the way that some of the stuff in, say, 2012 was put together. They've responded to that by making the content look better over the course of the last 10 years. Damn straight, that's how you do it.
Exactly.
Whereas some fan creators clearly don't take criticism as well, which is not good.
Which is I think with fan content in general, it shouldn't be treated like a dictatorship. There shouldn't be one way of doing it. You should always respect your actors, voice actors, and what they want to do with their characters. That makes sense, right? That makes perfect sense. I mean, it's we're making...
So I mean, this is it though. This is a conversation that I've had sort of in general, but it works a little something like this. Fan filmmaking, especially, should be massively collaborative. Fan audio making as well, but like fan filmmaking especially, because that's something where people are taking a metric ton of time out.
I mean,
okay. So say for example, okay, here's an example. Say you want to make a fan film with your predecessor, the Retro Doctor, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you have a guy. Who do you have for that now?
Neil Jones.
Neil Jones.
Yeah, I started talking to him, and I mean, there are certain things that I want to do when he comes down here, because, I'm mainly going up to Brighton, where that's when I don't know whereabouts he's based, but once he comes down there, I'll pay for his train fares. I believe it's like £10 an hour for him being down here, which makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
but here's the thing:
him and making sure he's looked after and making sure he's had a good experience.
But this is that on the flip side. So people come down to film with you. If you can't pay them, you pay for their travel. If you can't pay for their travel, you offer to help out with other things. If you can't do any of that, which some people can't, absolutely fair, then you offer something else for them to have their experience. Because
you always tell them beforehand.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is,
what your budget is.
Absolutely. And the thing is, for example, sorry, I just really random tangent. I love that Dalek too.
Yeah, and the post box.
I was actually old enough to watch BBC Doctor Who Night, I remember those Daleks.
I mean, this was given to me by Captain Jimmy Pie. It's the one that he made the intro for my channel with it, which is a recreation of the Doctor Who Night Island. And I specifically asked it for this color scheme because it is the Wilderness Years color scheme as well. From like I believe it was in, what was that documentary, More Than 30 Years in the TARDIS, and I believe it was in. I don't think it was in Curse of Fatal Death, but it was in like a ton of promotional.
I think it might have been actually, because there was a metric ton of Daleks in the proper version of Curse of Fatal Death.
But yeah, so I asked for this, and then this one here is from the CBBC Island from when I was a kid, and I remember this one. It's the one I grew up with. Like, they had a few post boxes come to life, and they shoot this C that was like an alive CBBC from the logo. It was strange time to be alive, but yeah.
Back when Doctor Who was everywhere, as indeed Doctor Who might still be everywhere. Oh no, we're slipping, gentlemen. It has been an honor and privilege playing with you tonight. Okay, but no, I was saying. So here's the thing, like, take for example the Nexus Point, which is the massive audio play series that I've been working on and I'm releasing slowly. Okay, every single person in that, all right, has given me their time and stuff. All right. So I did not dictate to them how to play the Doctor. I had ideas about the Doctors I wanted. And in fact, when they were auditioning, I cast them based on which Doctors I felt they fitted more based on my ideas. But I didn't ever say to them, this Doctor is meant to be like this. This Doctor is meant to be like that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not paying them. They're doing me a massive fucking favor, and I respect the fucking hell out of them. So to me, the way that I compensate them, if I can't compensate them financially, is by giving them as much control as they want or as much control as they ask for. And the thing is, if tomorrow one of them comes up to me or messages me on Discord and says, I have an idea for an audio play that I want to do with my Doctor that I played for you in Nexus Point. All right. Obviously, I, as somebody who's running a channel, I have to have a certain level of integrity with the universe that I'm writing. But the polite thing to do is do everything in your power to help make that happen and help that person explore that character, because the Doctor's a very personal role to play for any actor. A lot of us are doing this because we want to be Doctor Who. There's no getting around that. Like, I'm doing this. I'm not doing this because I wanted to get into filmmaking initially. I'm doing this because I thought I'd love to be Doctor Who. But so let people be Doctor Who. Let people be Doctor Who.
I think one thing with me when with like Dark Days and stuff, Dark Days is as a series, it's limitless. There's like everything you could possibly do could be done at some point. So like when it comes to stuff like that, when people want to make a story, of course I look at it first. I look at what their idea is. I give out ideas quite often. Whenever someone wants to write a story, I often like give my input, see if they want to work with an idea that I've come up with, and then they bring life to that. Well,
I mean, my experience of that, to talk about my experience writing for you was, so the ones that I've done for you, some of them were, you said, do you want to write this one? And so like We Surpass was me going, I want to write a story with multiple Georges. And then you were like, oh, can you have George as the master in it as well? And I was like, yes. And so we threw that in, and and that was a really free process where I was just like, okay, this is one thing that George's blonde Doctor is doing for the Architect after the Architect picks him up at the end of episode 1. Okay, that's it. That's the sum totality of it. But then there's the episode that I've just finished a draft of, which I'm assuming is going to get into the recording phase at some point, which is, you said you wanted me to write a story with Connor Chadwick's Cravat Doctor, a couple of other guys, and have the Cybermen be in it because you're doing Supremacy of the Cybermen's timeline as part of the Dark Days stuff.
Yeah.
But then I had the freedom when I was writing that to go, fuck it, I'm having the Borg from Star Trek, because they're technically an iteration of the Cybermen, thanks to that one Star Trek crossover comic. That's technically a thing. So yeah, it went from being the bare bones of the shopping list you gave me, essentially the Russell T Davies style shopping list you gave me, to something completely different, which is
It's
That's
very
a very
much.
freeing process. For a writer, that's a very freeing process because it's like, as a writer, writing is my craft. Writing is a thing that I want to get paid for doing one day. It'd be kind of shit for me as a writer if you went, oh, could you write this thing for me? Cool. Can I do this? No.
No, 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 no creative freedom here. This is all
Oh,
my stuff. This is my series. This is nothing to do with you. You know what?
yeah. Yeah. You're not
You,
allowed to have anything that you want in it.
you want this doctor in it? Nah, nah,
no,
that's out of the
no.
question.
Yeah. I mean, I hope he doesn't mind me saying it, but one thing that's been especially freeing about the script that I'm currently writing, which can I say the title?
Yeah,
The
sure.
Fellowship of the Doctor. One of the things that's been really freeing about that is I wanted to sort of go back and find basically obscure fan doctors that were played by people I know that I could then. So I've got Dominic Greenwood Martin very, very kindly agreed to play the Doctor he played in Generations, in the Doctor Who Generations fan film, that he's labeled the Chaotix Doctor. Um, which is just, that's freaking amazing to have him coming back as that Doctor. That's incredible, especially since he then came up with like a whole back history and a whole like character to differentiate that from his Purple Doctor from 2012. And then I've got George playing the very first Doctor that he ever played, which is the Doctor from The Hunt, which I think he's put that on private now because he's kind of embarrassed by it. But fuck it, I am bringing that Doctor back, baby.
I remember like when he got embarrassed by it, we were all on the Zoom call, we were all looking at fan films, then we brought up his fan films. And yeah, I don't think you shouldn't be embarrassed by it. I've seen it. It's good, especially for like again the budget, what he had to work with,
and the fact that he was a kid,
at the time. I remember when I was a kid and I like God, I'm not embarrassed by it, but I was like, I got my action figures into my garden and got my two cousins and just pretended I was making a fan film by like my sister recording it. And like I'd move the figures around and I'd go like close up on the figures like the Pertwee era. But
I did an entire Lego recreation of the Lord of the Rings trilogy with Lego. Yeah, when I was like 11, I did the entire thing. It was bad, but I don't care. It was fun. It was fun. It was fine. That's the thing. That's the thing. You do these things because they're fun, and yeah, you might cringe a little, but good-natured cringe.
Without those stepping stones, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be discussing this.
Well, like I imagine, in the same way that maybe the big guys like MB and Homeland, DDK, even 2012, they're all looking back at their old stuff and being a bit like cringe. But actually, no, guys, for real, don't cringe, because it's like when you're doing a maths GCSE. Show me you're working.
Don't bring up maths GCSEs. I never passed it. I never passed the maths GCSE.
Yeah,
I just quit at one point. I quit.
I don't blame you. I ended up getting, God, what did I get? 2 A stars in English lit and English language, 3 Bs, 4 Cs, and a D. The D was in art. I got a B in maths because I can do maths. Like I was home educated for 5 years, and all I did for 5 years was maths because I was shit at it. So I had maths drilled into my fucking spine. But that doesn't mean I enjoyed it. I walked out of my GCSE for maths and I was like, fuck this shit, I'm out. So, but yeah, so at this point, I feel like I should apologize to all those fan creators out there who, I'm a random nobody that you've never heard of who's just been bitching about your shit. I should point out, I'm not bitching about your shit. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm pointing out that, nothing is beyond, a little friendly critique to help improve the overall experience. And for all that I critique stuff, I critique stuff from the place of, okay, so here's an example. I will never, ever, ever, ever offer any critique whatsoever to fan films where I look at them and I go, that's a bunch of kids who are never going to get beyond the point of being a bunch of kids. They're shit. Their work is shit, but they're doing it for fun and it's not fair to criticize them. All right. Yeah. When I criticize DDK, when I criticize MB and Homeland, and when I criticize DW 2012, and when I criticize any of the big shots, I'm doing that because these are people who are clearly a collection of very talented people who to one degree or another know what the fuck they're doing, they can grow and they can improve. And I've often said that you're looking at some fan films that are like, these are the people who will be will be the millennium traps of our age.
Yeah,
potentially, or they could be if they got over whatever glaring issues that I've pointed out for them.
And and when we discuss them like this, it's not out of spite or hate or anything like that. It's out of love for the craft. It's out of love for the people involved. And it's just,
no, and the thing is, like take for example, and there's some real one of the nicest things I saw was Dominic Greenwood Martin wrote and appeared in that minisode on DW 2012.
Oh,
that's that right there.
Episode was magnificent, genuinely.
And the thing is, you watch
brilliant.
that. Watching it, that's one of the best written pieces on that channel. But it's also like it's a piece where you can really feel that this is a guy who's been wanting to play this character for years, and he's had a long time to really hone and develop his portrayal of the Doctor. And it really comes across.
At the end of the day, it's all subjective, of course, but I would say that Dominic Greenwood Martin is, I think, in my view, he's amazing. He's just genuinely.
He is.
Every story he writes, even for like Big Finish, and like, I'm so happy they picked up on Dominic. Like, genuinely, if anyone deserved that, it was Dom. Like the amount of passion,
the amount of passion, the amount of work he does, the fact that he's again honed the craft, like really cares about the craft, has honed the craft. That's a sign of dedication. And it's really important. It's interesting. We've gotten onto this topic about talking about individual creators, talking about how much we love them and stuff. And it sort of brings to mind. So there was a conversation that's been had here, there, and everywhere about idolization within fan creation. And I have my thoughts on it. Obviously, but it's your podcast, dude. Let's let you talk first, because I'm aware I've talked a fuck ton.
Well, idolization, I'd say, can be a very bad thing. It can, especially with fan creators, because of course we've had our Twitter instance, we've had our nonsense within and creepy people within sneaking their way into fan films and audios through idolization. It can be exploited. But I can say that without it entirely, I wouldn't be making what I make, because I looked up to a lot of fan stuff as a kid. When growing up, I watched like The 10 Doctors by Babel Color. That was like a huge inspiration for me. You can see from my work nowadays where I just put like, there's just like a shit ton of like every Doctor in the Dark Days. You can see where like, and there was definitely a lot of that during what I grew up with, like Batman arc, the figure adventure creator. He made his 10 Doctors, and I was inspired by that. I think there is a fine line between inspiration and idolization. And working with people as well, I do idolize a lot of people I work with, such as yourself. I think you are amazing, and I know you're one of George's favorite Doctors as well.
Yeah,
so that kind of idolization can be a positive force.
This is it.
It's a fine line between that and covert.
There's a fine line between idolization and. So there are two really big things with idolization, and this is where I'm almost going to get political. So you'll have to apologize for that. I'll have to apologize for.
This is, an unedited, just genuine conversation. So
okay. The first thing that I'm going to say about idolization is, I think, to a certain extent, and this is a conversation I've had with a fair few people, and a lot of them agreed with me, class has a lot to do with it. Class and geography has a lot to do with it. So, the thing is, the people who have been most successful and thus ended up being idolized, a lot of it has been down to, they've got disposable income, they've got middle class backgrounds. The vast majority of the people who are successful, and I think, and like, stop me if I'm wrong here, but the only people in Britain the only person singular in Britain who isn't like a white middle class guy who's been successful is Dom.
Yeah.
The only like you think right now, can you think of any other POC like creators on his level of like exposure, basically?
Dear God. I of course I know of people, but not
No,
on his level.
there are POC within the fandom.
Yeah, of course.
Lots
Oh
of,
yeah, lots,
but
lots. But on his level,
you think how many of them are on Dom's level?
sadly, like I really can't.
Yeah. Now to counter that point, how many of them are white, middle class, and some kind of southern?
A lot of them. Jesus Christ, so many.
Yep.
I mean,
And here's the thing. I'm saying this now. I am white, but I am working class, and I am from the north.
I'm
I am from
white.
the north.
See, I'm white, working class, southern.
Hmm.
So I'm southern. I said it.
Yeah.
I'm as south as you can get. Really, you can't really get more south than I can, because I like live right near the beach area. You know, right at the corner. But
Blimey.
yeah, it's really southern. But yeah, it really is a shame because I do feel like, you know, it's why I kind of, I like the concept of the community show. You know, Jack Reed's show,
Oh yeah, no,
because that
I liked that, but
I
the thing is, he acknowledged, didn't he, that when he was doing those awards,
awards he did.
he
He got
acknowledged that there was a problem.
yeah he did get a few complaints about it because of that, and I really respect on how he like responded to that, because it was. But I love how the community show kind of highlights everyone. It's not really about subscriber count, and I really want this series in particular not to be about subscriber count,
If
not
he
to be
wanted it,
about.
if he wanted it to be about subscriber count, ladies, gentlemen, and those of an unspecified gender, he wouldn't have picked me. But
I I don't want
no,
it to be about clout or anything. I want to get like not just creators in as well. I want to get everyone in, really, just anyone who wants to talk. It's just a talk with, you know.
yeah, no,
So,
but this is it. Is that class has a very big, class and
mm,
monetary, monetary like success or whatever, like the amount of money you have, unfortunately plays a very big part in the sorts of content that you're able to make because you've got the
yeah,
money to make it, and as a result, in the amount of like, it happened big time in Star Trek fan films. So,
yeah,
so there was a guy called James Corley who used to make fan films. He doesn't anymore because there was a big thing. I'll get to that in a minute. But he was an Elvis impersonator, made a lot of money from it, and so he was able to make a complete recreation of the original Enterprise sets. Fucking beautiful recreation. It's an official thing now. So he's basically licensed out his sets to the people who own Star Trek. He actually does set
Jesus,
tours now.
wow,
No, because he was really proud of them.
yeah,
But the thing
wow,
is, when he started, he was doing it for fun,
mm,
but he and a couple of other guys set the new standard, which was TOS sets, accurate uniforms. Increasingly, it became, do you have the CGI, to show off the Enterprise doing all these cool things? Do you have X number of real actors coming in, like people from the show, people from this, people from that,
yeah. I do think with Doctor Who fan films, particular, but well, fan films in general, there shouldn't be standards. But there should be standards to a degree, but there shouldn't be,
no, there shouldn't be like
possibly
standards of money. It shouldn't be about how
exactly,
much money you'll. And the thing is, okay,
exactly. That's what I mean. There shouldn't be
so,
standards in that degree.
but the problem is there are.
Mm,
Okay, so I have obviously pissed and moaned a little bit, jokingly about the fact that, I'm kind of small. I've been doing it for a long time and not many people know who the fuck I am. uh, which, isn't strictly accurate. Obviously, I've now gotten to the point where I'm working with you guys. That's really cool. But a few years ago, I was going to give up. And I had a really disconcerting conversation with an otherwise very good friend of mine. Like, he's a really good friend. But we had a conversation where I was like, I feel like I'm not having as much fun with these fan films anymore. I feel like, nobody's watching them. There's no point. And his response was, there is no point, because now fan films and everything has this standard, which is, people making it with this much money and this much sets and costumes and what have you. So you should stop, because the stuff you're making is not going to reach that standard, and you're never going to be happy with it. And that was a really disconcerting comment, because bluntly speaking, he's kind of right. Like up until like when I started talking with George, and when I eventually through George started talking with all of you guys and stuff, up until that point, I didn't see the point of continuing to do it, because it's an awful lot of work. I don't have any money to spend to do really cool things on it. Up until recently, I was trying to edit on iPads, which is not useful. Like when I got my work laptop at home for COVID and stuff, the one that I'm recording this on now, that helped. But by and large, like it can be really disheartening to do that stuff for years and years, and then
Well, can I just say I'm glad you didn't give up, and I'm glad you kept going. And I think George would agree. Pretty much everyone you've worked with would agree. But
George, that's a weird one, because George will probably, when you get him on here, if you ask him about it, George will tell you that apparently I am his doctor. And, when he was going through a tough time, it was my fan films that he watched that really kept him going. And
but that's an example of idolization being a good thing. Again, it can be a good thing. It's not really, that is idolization at the end of the day. That is, and it is that's a good. It can empower people and inspire, and I don't think we should take it all away.
No, absolutely. I think the onus is not on the people idolizing to stop idolizing. The onus is on the people being idolized to not have their heads rammed up there. Okay, so as an example,
I wouldn't want to be idolized all that much. I really can't see it, and I don't know if it's like I just don't. Yeah, I inspire maybe, but not idolize.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, there's a dark side to that, which there's two dark sides, really. One of which is when people take advantage of the fact that people idolize them, and the other is when people are really creepy about idolizing you, which obviously people have had. And like even mundane things, like, so George was telling me a while back that he was kind of bummed out that people kept commenting on Dom's stuff. We want a Blonde Doctor series, because maybe you do, but it's
not
Dom's series.
Not the time.
Dom deserves to have his series out, for God's sake. So it's a case of, there's a dark side to it on both sides, but there's also a positive side to it on both sides. I think
on the topic of you giving up and you thinking about it, I have seen another tweet like that recently from Abby, TT Productions, giving up on original content.
Which I had a conversation with her about that, actually. And the thing is, like, she had similar thoughts, to be honest, about her. Apparently, she had similar thoughts about her like Paternoster stuff, because not many people were watching that. And I'll say to her what I'll say to literally everybody who's in a position of giving up on the content that they're creating, which is, and this is going to sound really fucking trite, and I know it is, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah, I agree. I fully agree with that. I starred in Scarlet Lost, which was her series as in part 3, which was really fun.
I love that script.
I got to do a death scene. It was brilliant. But I definitely recommend checking it out, by the way, for everyone watching. But also, it was so well written and so well done that she has an art for this stuff. She genuinely has. It's inspired writing. It's incredible stuff. And if she, honestly, if people just stopped doing what they're doing, then the world would be a darker place. Like
if people did not do their stuff when they're good at it because they felt disheartened the first time, we'd be left with a world of BBV.
Christ, don't get me started on BBB. Oh, no, not them.
Oh god, let's not get started on that because funnily enough, it's weird. So we talked a lot about other people's stuff. It's like, should I talk about my stuff? Should I talk about my stuff? I feel like if I'm on here, I might as well talk about my stuff a bit.
Before you
like,
get started on that, let me just say, we may, of course, we've been friendly, critically friendly wise.
Mhm.
But one thing I want to say is, no matter how down you feel about your content, no matter how bad you feel your writing is, which it most likely isn't, but in a way, it's most definitely not bad writing.
Yeah.
And you've still got, and you can still learn, even think, but at least you're not BBV. You can say that. You can walk with your head high, and
at least you can say
BBV.
You're not BBV. You did not write Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant having a sex scene.
And you know what? Recently, and I know we said we're not going to get into it, but oh boy, they've been in a lot of drama recently. They've been the faction paradox stuff, the copyright stuff.
Mad Larry's gonna kill him. Larry's gonna kill him.
And they're still going. They're still doing it now. They're still doing the faction paradox stuff after they've lost the license. And after they've been continually told they do not have the license, they've not changed the name or anything like they did with their Doctor Who shitty audios back in the day. They've genuinely just continuing. And the creator of Faction Paradox, one of the license holders, has reached out to them, telling them to stop, but they're still going. Well, I say they, Bill Baggs. It's literally just Bill Baggs. All it is
fucking
just
stop, dude, please.
He was shitty towards his work, the people that work with him, writing wise. He gave them shit all pay, and no matter how you know what, if you treat your actors like that, you can fuck right off. Genuinely, if you do not treat them with respect, if you do not give them freedom with their character that they've acted out for you, most like non-profit, then you can fuck off.
Oh yeah.
There is no place.
Respect your workforce, bitches. Respect your workforce.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, there's no excuse for being a shitty person to people. There's no excuse ever for being a shitty person to people. So Anyway.
Yeah. Anyways,
I'm gonna be an egotistical bastard and talk about my stuff now.
Yeah, there is one question I want to ask you about your stuff. Really, is just more about your creative process when it comes to making films. Of course, we've discussed about budget and that your films in particular have quite a small budget. I know we've talked about it a lot. Most of the cast is just you and your wife. So
the
process of working on that.
The entire cast of my entire so I recently did an entire fairly nice little run actually of fan films starring me, my wife, me doing a funny voice, and my kids. That was it. That was the sum totality of that series. And you know what? I fucking like for real. I was watching The Base that came back recently. And I actually thought to myself, you know what? I like it. It's weird. You sometimes you get to a point where you're like, do I like what I'm doing? But actually, yes, I liked it. It was fun. I enjoyed it. So yeah. My creative process is basically, what's the best way of putting it? Step one, what's a really fucking cool thing that I could do that not many other people have done yet? Step two, can I make it? With me, my wife, and some CGI overlays that I found on a free website somewhere. Step three, make the thing. And sometimes the thing is, budgetary limitations are the mother of invention, and sometimes they're the mother of really lovely character stuff. So a lot of the stuff that I've been able to do with just me, my wife, and my kids has been stuff like so to go back to The Base that came back, as that's the one I'm gonna hold up and say I liked that one, but that one is like, it's me, my wife, me again playing some entity that's pretending to be me, and a shitty little location that is within walking distance of our house. But actually, looking at it, there's some really freaking great character interplay there, because I had to put something in there. And actually it was an opportunity to explore these characters a bit and a chance to play off on that stuff. So to sort of keep myself as focused as I can on the topic of, my creative process, it comes down to something that's within my capabilities to do. And then I just, do my best to write something fun and long enough to be a 10-minute episode of Doctor Who. It's a bit different when I'm doing audios. So obviously there's the Nexus Point, which is in the process of coming out, which for the Nexus Point, my creative process was, there was this story idea that me and Matthew Mills, my co-producer on Man at Desk, had, which was basically the explanation for why our two doctors are in different timelines and where our two doctors' point of divergence was. And it was all about the point of divergence and the consequences of that point of divergence. And at that point, I had something of a following on TikTok. I have even more of a following on TikTok now, which probably means I should go back and post on TikTok one of these days, because I've not posted in a few months because, life happened. But basically, I was like, I'm making a fan audio. Do you want to join me? And that's how I met Abby. And that's how I met a bunch of literally all of the people that I'm working on Nexus Point with. I met them all through doing Nexus Point. So I set up a Discord. They all joined on the Discord. And, it was this big, fun, crazy thing. And I'm really profoundly grateful for it. But the sum totality of writing Nexus Point was, okay, this is that story. I'm actually going to cast these doctors and do this story. Wait, why is it 6 episodes long? Wait, why is it 7 episodes long? Why is the 7th episode 50 pages long?
That was very much how Endgame started as well, actually, because at first, I won't say what it was because it's the ending and how it ends, but there was supposed to be one scene of all the doctors come together, and then suddenly, oh, hang on, I have a story idea that could revolve around this one scene. Oh, hang on, I have several story ideas that can revolve around this scene. Hang on, why is this a saga now? Wait, I'm not just asking for a few lines from people now, I'm asking for tons.
Scripts. You're asking for scripts, man.
And then I met some of the people that I'm really close with now, and some of the people that I work with a lot now. Believe it or not, Dom actually reached out to me instead of me reaching out to Dom, I was ecstatic at that. Same when I was with Davis. I think I reached out to George, and then I think through George I must have met you through George, right? Because
I think
no.
What happened? Okay, what happened with us was, it was arse end of last year. So sorry, arse end of 2021. For those of you watching this in the space year 2023, when we have Neil Patrick Harris in Doctor Who.
Oh, we've got to discuss that, by the way.
Yeah, so for those of you in the space year 2023, I commented, because the thing is, I think you had posted something on Twitter about any fan doctors want to do cameos for my stuff, and I was like, that's me. I'm a fan doctor. And you were like, yeah, cool. And so, but then obviously what happened then was I wrote my scenes and edited my scenes for you because I could, but I don't know whether me writing and editing my scenes, well, obviously me writing my scenes for you was something I was going to do anyway, but I don't know whether me editing my scenes happened.
I think
because of
that wasn't the that wasn't originally going to happen. That wasn't the plan. It was all going to be originally fully edited by me, but then real life kicked in. I lost my dad, and all that stuff happened.
Yeah, so obviously I stepped in a bit to help out there.
Yeah, and I'm genuinely so thankful for that, because I wouldn't have gotten part 2 out without it.
I mean, the thing is, I think that's one of those things where you sort of, I mean, this is a.
And I did open up to because I did learn something from that because originally, before you edited, I had one episode on my channel that wasn't edited by me. Just one out of the 40 at the time, the 30 something, some absurd number like that. But I think it was particularly when your editing came along, I'm more open to collaborations like that. Because
Hmm.
originally it was all me, all my work. It was like, of course, I collaborated with people in a voice acting capacity, script writing capacity, but I didn't really.
Collaborate in the editing side of things.
Yeah, it was only when you came in that I really thought, hang on, this could work. It doesn't all have to be, as long as I have some creative input. I guess
Well, you know, as long as you know, as long as either, because the times I've edited for you have been I've edited scenes, and the nature of the stuff for Dark Days is that the scenes can be sort of spliced in between
Mm,
one another. So that worked out really nicely, actually, I thought. Um, and I edited We Surpass for you
yeah.
because I wrote We Surpass for you, and
Mm,
literally the only thing that was sort of left to do was put the title sequence in. But like I think that was a special case because I wrote all of that. I got the
mm.
lines and stuff for all that, and you, I think at the time you were still a bit like, you
Yeah,
know, you.
because
I, I, I
I
mean,
think
obviously, it's the kind of thing that takes a little while to get past. You
yeah, and I
know.
think it's evident during that month as well. I think I only released two things, and that was Endgame Part Two and We Surpass. And honestly, since then, I didn't really release much until
Yeah,
1 month ago.
you've been building a portfolio of stuff that you're working towards releasing.
Yeah, I
And
think
and the thing is, okay, to get serious for a moment,
mhm.
you need to remember to give yourself time to get back into that flow
Oh
of
yeah,
things,
oh
you know,
definitely.
because that's a big thing. That's a big thing, and it's much more important
Because
than
God knows I've been through burnouts. I've had at least three burnouts now in my time as a creator. And of course, I've got through them. Burnout is a huge thing that happens to
yeah.
pretty much every fan creator you could see. They've been through a burnout. I mean, as we were discussing with like Abby and TT recently, that that's a type of burnout is
That's a type of
something.
burnout, you know, like I've been through them in my original work as well, and I've been
Mm,
through them, you know, and the thing is, like, oh, mother-in-law's back. But the thing is though, like what you've been through is not just a burnout.
yeah,
What you've been through is, you know,
this year it's been difficult. I can't. It certainly hasn't been easy. I mean, it's also inspired me creatively. I think every
I
kind of
mean, the thing that's interesting about what you said to me previously is obviously your father was a massive supporter of the content that you created.
funnily enough, that's another thing about, we were talking about being embarrassed by our work. I was originally very, not embarrassed, but private. I was
Hmm.
very, very selective of who knew in the real world, as we will put it. But in my personal life, my dad didn't know, my mum didn't know, my sister knew. But of course, I knew about what she does. It's kind of, when you're a teenager, especially around when I was 18, because everyone's kind of more private because
Yeah.
that's. But once I told my mum about it all, and it was mainly because I was on the Comic Con panel. And I couldn't exactly go on the Comic Con panel without telling them first and telling them what I'm actually on there for. And now all my family is kind of supportive of it. My gran is always calling me, telling me she's listened to it. And sometimes that can be because I released a tortured one yesterday, and there's a lot of farting in it, and there's a lot of bloody murder. There is
Funny murder. Funny murder. The best
well,
kind of murder.
there's a lot of, it's like that one is like a prequel to Countryside and a sequel to Delta and Abandonment with a Slovene. It's written by Davis. It's amazing. But then, then I hear my grands listen to like the Slovene doing a fart rendition of Bohemian Rhapsody. And I love it. I really
Beautiful.
do. And
Oh,
my mum listens to it often.
oh, am I beeping? Sorry,
Yeah.
I think I'm beeping. I think that's my wife beeping me.
Ah, well,
Uh
I'll continue
oh,
talking, I guess.
sorry.
I'll
Sorry,
continue.
I tell my wife that I'm recording, and then she's asking me to make her a cup of tea. So, yeah. Sorry. Can I pop off and make tea for like 10
Right.
minutes and then
I'll
yeah.
edit this bit out, obviously.
Yeah. Oh my god, guys, the unedited talk has an edit.
Be right back.
2,000 years later.
So first off, and oh no, sorry, I'm not talking through that. I'm talking through this one. And we're back in the room. Hi guys. I hope you missed us terribly on our like non-existent break because this is getting edited and we're not leaving. Yeah. I was making coffee for myself and tea for my wife when I just thought of the worst bit of dialogue I've ever heard in anything ever. And it's ironic because it's from one of my favorite video games. It's Alien Isolation. So this isn't even like fan work. This is like a proper professional person was paid to write this shit. So, and it happens twice. They're flying up to a space station. They're looking at the space station on the monitor and they're like, is that damage? It looks like damage. No fucking shit, genius. And then again, like later, somebody's like, do you hear something? I hear something. No fucking shit, genius. It's like, okay, that's totally not how the dialogue works. It's like literally one of those memes where it's like, you know, if I had a dime for every time somebody said something and then said that they something, I'd have 2 dimes, which isn't a lot, but it's funny that it happened twice.
Yeah.
So yeah, no matter how bad your writing is, remember, you're not Dan Abnett and you did not write that dialogue. It's all good. No offense, Dan Abnett. I love you, really.
Yeah, I can't really think of any bad. Actually, I can. Don't let the swords touch your skin.
Oh God. Oh
yeah, we all remember that one. Or what's the other one? Something I can't remember the specific of it, but it was from I think it's been highlighted recently, but it was from Fugitive of the Jadoon, and it's the fugitive doctor saying she's here, and then going on to explain what's happening in the scene.
Yes, you could see that this tractor beam is tractor beaming me up. With the tractor beam. I'm like, Joe, we love you. You've been more doctorish in 5 minutes than Jodie has been for this entire episode. But please, shh. Let the visuals visual for us, please. Yeah, but of course that's Chibnall for you. So I think you know. But I'm not gonna start talking about Doctor Who, like real Doctor Who, because discourse.
Yeah, good point. Good point. We want to keep away from that. That's for sure.
I want to keep away from that. I don't want people like dissect. I'm gonna have people killing me enough in the comments for daring to say that fan films are occasionally not perfect. You know. So, you know, if I then go on to say that occasionally real Doctor Who is also not perfect, somebody's gonna murder me in my sleep. And it's probably gonna be me. Ha! God. But yeah, no. What were we talking about before I got pinged and I had to go make tea? The fact that it's been a difficult year for you, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got pinged and I had to make tea. Well, right while we were talking about something difficult.
Just want to make sure I don't slide.
Yes. Gentlemen, it has been an honor and a privilege playing with you tonight. No, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, I'll move my microphone a bit closer. But yeah, so it has been a pretty difficult. Well, I say pretty difficult. I mean, it's been a fucking difficult year for me.
Yeah, it's got to be up there with shit that you never want to have to relive.
Yeah, I mean, I say that. Yeah, it's been a. Hang on, this damn webcam. Hold on a second.
Behave, webcam.
Yeah, it's definitely a year I don't want to relive. There are certain moments that I would. I mean,
yeah, but there are certain moments of almost every shit year that one would want to relive, surely.
Actually, for all the shit that's happened this year, and I mean unfathomable a level of shit, like festival toilet level shit. There's shit.
Oh God. Yeah.
Just it's I met Jodie Whittaker, met Joe Martin, organized a Doctor in Distress cover, been to like 4 different Comic Cons, met Jimmy Carr randomly on a train after the
had a
Comic-Con.
very important conversation with Jimmy Carr on a train.
Yeah. I've had some great family moments, great moments with my gran, great moments with my sister.
Do you feel like
great college moments?
If this doesn't sound like an odd question, do you feel like your shared losses brought you all closer together?
Yeah, I'd say so. Considering my college friends were actually here when it happened, because it was on New Year's Day that I lost him, and my friends were here for New Year's Eve and they stayed the night. So they were here when I lost my dad. Because
If this
yeah,
doesn't seem like an insensitive question to ask, was it something that happened like without expectation or warning?
my dad's been ill for practically all my life. Um, he's always had, well, pretty much everything under the sun, really. But he had a heart attack when I was 3 years old, and from then on, it's kind of, there's been moments where, yeah, it's and it was during like 2021, he got COVID and he was placed in a red zone. So he had really bad ventilation, and he had like this huge mask over him apparently. Obviously I couldn't go in. I couldn't go to see him in that room.
So it's not like it was something that came completely out of the blue, but still.
In a manner of speaking, he was kind of preparing us. It wasn't entirely there's a bug. It's not
moths.
I've had a few of those recently. They keep on getting in through the window. Really
Oh,
annoying.
no. Okay.
But
speaking now, like, sorry to
no, yeah, go.
Speaking now as somebody who owns an awful lot of really nice coats, kill the moths and get cedar wood on all your coat hangers, because otherwise, like, I have what used to be a really nice Marks and Spencer's tweed coat that's now got a bunch of sewed up holes because I had to sew it up myself because moths got at the fucker. They also ate one of my only blue pinstripe.
They're all coming after me now because I'm wearing a nice coat. Like, genuine. All of them are, that
they're awful. I hate moths.
There's so many all of a sudden. Since I'm recording as well, bastards.
I hate moths. I hate them all. But
yeah.
No, I mean, like, the thing is, like,
I mean, with what I was saying, back onto the serious subject, I've had to face my mortality this year more than I've ever done. And the mortality of the people around me. It's been an ongoing theme. Like, I witnessed a car crash a few weeks ago. I mean, even at my dad's funeral, someone fell down the stairs and was comatose.
Jesus.
I have seen a lot this year of people, I mean, the car crash wasn't anything that serious. It was a guy on a bike. I was walking down the street. I just seen like the best film I've ever seen. Anything, everywhere, all at once. And like, I was just walking in my own world, pretty much in shock from how good the film was. And I just heard a crash behind me, and I just instantly ran in to try and help the guy and try and pull the bike out. And then the group came around, and it was insane. I was very much in shock after that. But of course, the main theme has been the passing of my dad.
Mortality.
And the mortality that has come with that. I think, it does. Death does put that in perspective, the death of a loved one. And a lot's happened this year, but I'm not going to pretend it was all terrible, because it wasn't. Genuinely, you can see the moths behind there by my TV, by the way.
I know. This is why you get cedar wood. You get cedar wood spray, you get lavender spray, you get cedar wood like coat hanger things, and you put them. And if you have anything that you think could have moths in it, you check it, because it could really be mothy. No, we had to bath my wife's entire yarn collection in vinegar, because it had moth larvae in it. That was not fun.
Yeah, I need to check this room out, because Jesus Christ, there's one there. I haven't noticed how many there are in it. Jeez,
This is when the origin of Rory's Next Dark Days series, The Evil Mothman. This is the origin of that. You saw it here first, ladies, gentlemen, and distinguished others. Oh God. But yeah,
ignoring the moths.
Because I think the thing is, like, funnily enough, I've had to face my mortality in similar ways, but that was, for me, the big turning points for me were 2012 when my grandmother died. because
Sorry for
my
your
my
loss. And yeah.
well, my grandfather died in 2005, and it was a very sudden death. But because it was a sudden death, we didn't process it properly, and we really only processed that death around about the time my grandmother died, because hers was a much more protracted business, nasty protracted business. I'm not going to get into that because
Yeah.
you know. But then I nearly died the year after.
What? You
Oh,
nearly died?
I nearly died. So
If you
I
don't mind
walk.
speaking about that, of course.
I have no compunction whatsoever speaking about my own near-death experiences. So yeah, in 2013, from about summer onwards, I found it increasingly difficult to walk any great distances. Then in September of that year, I had a cold that took it out of me, and I found that I was having difficulty being able to stand without any kind of walking stick. So I was literally using my grandfather's old walking stick or umbrellas to walk places.
Jesus.
I was constantly ill, like constantly nauseous ill. And then eventually I got another cold, and then I couldn't stand or walk. And it didn't help that I had the worst memory, and this is a thing I'm gonna only touch upon because I don't want to get too into it. But I had a Coca-Cola addiction that nearly killed me. This was part of what nearly killed me in 2013, and it nearly killed me again in 2018. I drank 5 liters a day, and the defining memory of nearly dying in 2013 was I was on my own in my house. I needed Coca-Cola because I was going through withdrawal symptoms. It was killing my head, but standing was also killing me. So it took me 2 hours to walk down a street to a local farm foods to pick up a bottle of Coca-Cola, to walk 2 hours back to my house, to go up the stairs, to have Coca-Cola to alleviate the withdrawal symptoms, which it didn't do because by the time the withdrawal headache kicks in, it's there for the rest of the day. But yeah, so eventually it turned out, so on my wife's birthday of 2013, she wanted me to go to York with her and her mother because they thought, oh, he'll have recovered. It was just the flu. He'll have recovered by now. I hadn't recovered by now. So I got about halfway up the street. I stopped. I was like, I can't even stand. I'm turning back. I got halfway down the street, sat down in the middle of the street. And then I had 2 police officers come up to me and they were like, are you okay? Because your skin is yellow. You look like you're dying. You ever seen a picture of George Best, the footballer, when he was like dying in his bed of alcohol poisoning? Look that up because I was that exact shade of yellow.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I was like, you see the yellow on the Doctor Who logo on that magazine poster thing behind you?
Of course.
That was me. I was that yellow.
Oh, I mean, I would say that I have been a Coca-Cola addict. It's a sugar addict pretty much.
Yeah, you need for real. No, and I didn't take this seriously until it nearly killed me twice. So the first time it was because whatever that cold was, combined with my addiction and the fact that I wasn't eating properly, I had about 1/3 of the blood I needed in my body to be alive. So I was on a transfusion the entire night. It nearly fucking killed me. Did you die? Yes. But I lived. But yeah, no. So the problem was, so around about 2018, I'm going to keep talking while he's killing moths because I know he's listening.
Yeah, I'm listening. Don't worry. I'm definitely listening.
And I'm getting a lovely shot. I'm getting a lovely shot of his TV now, thanks to the camera slippage. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. But yeah, so in 2018, I started getting heart palpitations, and my arm started hurting when I walked for too long. So yeah, that's like, oh, I see. I'm getting the symptoms of a heart attack. That's bad. So yeah, I had to give up Coca-Cola because it was going to kill me.
Yeah, I'd say I have to give up as well because I feel like
How much do you drink? Way
too much. I won't go into specifics, but way too much, and it is damaging my teeth. I'll say that it's damaging my teeth.
Oh yeah, no. I have fillings and I have damaged teeth because I drank too much. But hilariously, so my teeth were on a constant spiral of disintegration, and then it just flattened out immediately when I stopped. Like immediately, it flattened out. So if you don't want to give up like This is becoming a Coca-Cola addiction helpline. If you don't want to give up like forever and properly, then if you want my advice, like proper advice, start drinking coffee. Drink coffee. Because I went through and the way I did it, I don't recommend this, but the way I did it was I had my withdrawal weekend. So I cold turkeyed through an entire weekend. I cold turkeyed. And then I started drinking coffee on the Monday, and just immediately it alleviated so much. And coffee's much better for you than Coca-Cola is. It's not brilliant, but it's better.
Yeah, I'd say I'm not at a point where if I were to get off Coke, I'd go for a withdrawal. Because I do have substitutes, but at the same time, it's getting there. It would get close, and I don't want to.
Okay. For real, I've been there. Stop while you can. Okay, because that's the serious part of this conversation. Don't do coke, kids. Or I'll get the Glockter on you.
Oh yeah, that's a whole. But yeah, I'm glad I had this conversation because it is something that I'm going through right now.
And the thing is though, like, and again, this is, stop me if I'm being insensitive. You clearly have a immediate family history of heart problems.
I was just about to mention that my dad had heart problems.
So yeah, if he had heart problems, you will probably have inherited some level of that.
I know.
So
there is a level of fear that comes with that. But of course,
and like that's bad in a way, but at the same time, being aware of the actual risks is good. So be aware of the actual risks.
Yeah.
Shall we talk about happier things?
Yeah, so, let's go to happier things.
So yeah, I guess because okay, fun stuff then. So in terms of like Doctor Who stuff that's upcoming, I'll talk about this stuff that's upcoming that I'm doing just on my channel. Then I'll talk about the stuff that I'm doing for you to sort of close out, because that seems like a pretty good way of closing out. Yeah. And there's still a lot of fun stuff that we can talk about there. So the fun stuff that I'm doing just on my channel is, obviously I've got the Nexus Point. So I've got episode 3 edited and ready to go out. That's scheduled to go out next month. So it's the second Friday. It's the second Friday of every month, up until the point where it actually, goes out there. And then, episode 4, I've now got all the lines for. And I'm missing only a handful of lines now for episodes 5 and onwards. So gonna get those done soon, he said, hopefully. And since they're my lines for episode 5 and onwards, I should really get them done soon. And I've got some really fun people, like for real. So George Gydra's Waistcoat Doctor, as in the Doctor that he plays. We call it the Waistcoat Doctor to differentiate it from the Blonde Doctor. That's not the real. That's not the real name. But that Doctor is in the Nexus Point with his companion Vin. We've got. I'm really, honestly, incredibly grateful to Dominic Martin, because he's actually stepped in as the Chaotix Doctor to fill in one of the cameo roles. So he's in episodes 4 onwards, I think. Not for long, but for enough of it to make a difference. So there is that. So Nexus Points episode 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are coming out for the rest of this year. I'm working next on a series of audios for my friend Matt. So he's recorded a fair few bits and bobs. So his Doctor's getting to come back out again for a bit. I'm still working on my fan film series as well. So that's ongoing. And in August, in theory, Lungbarrow Brothers season 2, part 1 is filming. The vast majority of it. Oh yeah. So we basically I had a conversation with my friend Anthony about George, actually, and about how George is a big fan. George has not gotten the chance to do as much stuff as he would have liked to do for certain things. So, and then my mate Anthony was like, well, fuck it. Do you want to make a Lungbarrow Brothers season 2 with you and George? And I was like, yeah. So George, this is something that if you get George on here, he'll have to tell you the full story of how he became my successor. But basically,
I'm definitely going to do it. Definitely going to bring George on.
Oh yeah, but basically George is my actual successor. He's the proper next Doctor after me now in my series. Yeah.
That's
So
cool.
it's a different Doctor. He played that Doctor actually in Weesapass, the Doctor in the checkered coat. That was that Doctor. He's back to killing moths. I know that feeling so well. I do it too. But yeah. Don't you do it, moth. Don't you do it.
The bastard's gone right beneath my shot, like right behind it. It's gone like right into the wall.
Oh yeah, I know.
That's
the feeling.
annoyed me.
Yeah, but no. So we're playing. So basically, George and I are going to be hopefully filming Lungbarrow Brothers season 2 in August. We've got a whole week in August that we're sort of filming stuff in. So yeah, Lungbarrow Brothers are back, baby. So which is it's for real.
Yeah.
I love the stuff I do on Manic Desk Productions, but going back to Lungbarrow Brothers, because obviously there's also audios that are sort of in the process of being done for Lungbarrow Brothers as well. So right now, I've got 2 completed ones that I'm sort of waiting for lines from actually everybody, to be fair. But I'm bad at asking people how you're doing with the lines. No, like I feel
me too.
ridiculously awkward. I feel ridiculously awkward doing it because I've got Alia Itori doing the lines for that audio series. She's fucking legendary.
Oh, she is spectacular. Like honestly, in general, just amazing voice actress, amazing person.
Oh yeah. But like because she's so busy as well, I just feel really bad saying, oh, how's it going? Because like. Oh shit! I've just realized I've said that. She might watch this. So I'm not nagging. I'm not nagging. I no way, shape, or form would I nag because
I think
people are busy. But
I've worked with Alia quite a lot on quite a lot of stuff, and we were discussing a story I was working on where someone just completely vanished off Twitter. And obviously I didn't know where to ask for lines or whether to replace them with another actor, and she just told me straight what to do, and she was just really honest, and she saw it from an audio producer's perspective but also from a voice actor's perspective. And I feel like you'll do fine asking her for lines and stuff because she's sort of
I mean the thing is, like, I don't need the lines right away anyway, so it's just like but when that stuff comes out, because the character that we've got her playing I like that character. She seemed to like that character, so it's all good. And I've got 2 more scripts to write for. No, I've got 3 more scripts to write for that like audio miniseries, and then it's done. And George is going to be one of those too. So yes, woo. But yeah, so there's that on Lungbarrow Brothers. There's season 2 that we're filming. And then, eventually, I'm going to start work on the series of fan films and fan audios that leads up to my Doctor's horrible demise.
And you can find all that stuff in the description below when it comes out, obviously, for quite a lot of it. But you can find all of Jed's previous stuff and work in the description below. If there's any specific channels you want me to plug, obviously
just put the links to Lungbarrow Brothers and Manic Desk, because the thing is, like, that's where all this stuff is going, so it's all good. Other stuff that I'm working on, so one thing that I'm working on that's really honestly ridiculously cool is an Omega script for the 60th anniversary, which Rory's in actually.
Oh, that's me.
So yeah, basically, I wanted to do the thing that never occurred to me until just this moment. In fact, is it's not just the 60th anniversary; it's the 50th anniversary of Omega.
Oh wow! So perfect timing, perfect. Like,
oh yeah, so Omega, baby. But yeah, no, because so my interpretation of Omega is actually. So my interpretation of Omega is actually a lot inspired by W.D. Gaster from Undertale. There's this absolutely wonderful quote from one of the Gaster, the servants of Gaster from the Undertale, like behind the scenes stuff. Just need to find it. Gaster.
My webcam has fallen over.
No, it's the end of the world. So Undertale Gaster quote. Okay, because there's a specific line of dialogue. Goner Kid. Where's Goner Kid? So the entire point of the 60th script is basically every single doctor is going to encounter something called a shard of Omega, which is going to be quite literally Omega was shattered into trillions and trillions of pieces across all of time and space, and that is how people will find him, essentially. But yeah, so where is Goner Kid? Ah, yes. So Goner Kid from Undertale is a character who people presume has a connection to W.D. Gaster from Undertale. And the lines of dialogue that Goner Kid say that sort of inspired me and my interpretation of Omega are: have you ever thought about a world where everything is exactly the same, except you don't exist? Everything functions perfectly without you. Thought terrifies me. That's Omega. Yeah, that's Omega, though. You know, everything, you know, and the thing is, like, all of the other characters as well, the other like Gaster characters, the Gaster followers, that's what they're called. So Gaster's followers. So here's one. It makes sense why Asgore took so long to hire a new royal scientist. After all, the old one, Dr. Gaster, what an act to follow. They say he created the core. However, his life was cut short. One day he fell into his creation and, well, alphas end up the same way. And then here's another one that sort of inspires me. And this is specifically the line of dialogue that inspired the shards of Omega.
Yeah.
The old royal scientist, Dr. Gaster, one day he vanished without a trace. They say he shattered across time and space. How can I say so without fear? I'm holding a piece of him right here.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. So that's the stuff that inspired my take on Omega. So the key thing with this Omega is quite literally, this Omega doesn't want to conquer the universe. This Omega doesn't want to come back and be the god of Gallifrey or whatever. This Omega isn't like, you know, a villain in that sense. This Omega has one goal and one goal only. Either he must exist or nothing must exist.
Oh, damn.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, kind of, you know, it's kind of the, because, you know, off topic, but, you know, with the end of time seems, Rassilon and that seems more like classic Omega, to me at least.
Yeah.
When I watch it, it seems like, but it also works as in Rassilon has fallen so far that he's gone to the lengths of like what he used to judge as wrong as now enacting that as the final sanction. It's really well written by Russ Davis, but yeah. So what you've done with Omega there is
it's exciting. It's exciting. I mean, what's exciting is, you know, in theory, you know, I've got some really good guys in there for it, and you know, I've got a really good guy. You know, I'm not gonna say because I don't want to spoil everything, but I've got a really good guy, hopefully, who's gonna do Omega for us. And you know, obviously, you know, I've got Dom, who's agreed to be the Chaotix Doctor in that. I've got, you know, myself, my mate Matt, George is in it as the Waistcoat Doctor. You're in it, you know. So we've got, you know, there's a lot of people. And it's gonna be really fun. And everybody's gonna get to act super shit scared when Omega shows up. So it's all good. But yeah, and then obviously to sort of wrap it all up in a neat little bow. Sorry, I was just killing a moth there. Yeah, I'm doing some stuff for you. So obviously, I just finished a script for you called Cyberspace and Cybertime, which apparently you liked, which was it's brilliant. The Cybermen and the Borg, baby.
Yeah,
because you know, I like the Borg. I like
who doesn't love the Borg? I mean, I haven't watched that much of Star Trek. I really need to watch more, but I've seen the Borg stuff, and as soon as you mentioned it, I just knew this is where it gets crazy. Yeah. Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
And
oh yeah.
And I knew someone who could do a Borg impression, so that's cool. So got that.
Oh my god. This is good. This
I
is
mean,
very good.
they voiced like 40 different creatures for like Endgame Saga because when I'm editing the Time War ambience, it's just a cacophony of madness. Just every monster you can imagine just thrown into this like huddle of just chaos, indistinguishable chaos. And it's got like funny ones like the androids or the androids and the bus ticket men from Great Show just showing up in a time war. I'm thinking of doing like uh uh Torchwood Darker Day story that ties into it, that really goes into the more.
Please tell me you have Beep the Meep.
I've got to include Beep me at some point. I want Beep to face Techno at some point. I've got to do that. But I'm thinking of doing a Torchwood tie-in to Endgame. Maybe just called Torchwood Endgame. I've been thinking about it in my head, and I know a few people I want to ask to be in it. And I think there are a few notable Torchwood fan projects and fan actors who have played characters from certain universes that I want to ask. I won't spoil which ones, but I've put it in.
I mean, there's a few different like Torchwoody types, so
So celebrating
all of them,
yeah,
all of them,
and celebrating that side of the
fan universe, really, because I think what's great about Dark Days fundamentally is that it's celebrating everything. Which it's as it should be,
yeah.
But then, okay, so obviously, cyberspace and cybertime is like one of these Endgame Saga pieces, which sort of takes place between episodes, and it's kind of continuing that thread that you had with the Architect and with the Blonde Doctor and other doctors in that universe.
One thing I can say is that there will be plenty more Blonde Doctor content, and there will be plenty of Purple Doctor content in the Endgame Saga continuing going forward. Just wanted to point that out there for no particular reason whatsoever. Anyway, carry on.
Oh God, yeah. I just want to say that most of the Blonde Doctor stuff that I'm doing is going to be really super exciting because Blonde Doctor stuff always is. But the best part is, so George is doing a story with the Blonde Doctor versus something. I'm not saying what because I don't want to spoil it because it's exciting. But then I'm doing a follow-up to that featuring my Doctor as well. And that's the Fellowship of the Doctor, which one's going to be crazy because that one's got the Schalke Doctor, the Richard E. Grant Curse of Fatal Death Doctor, my Doctor, an alternate version of my Doctor, or me playing an alt Doctor. I've got another Doctor that I almost feel like I should put in there now just for shits and giggles. Actually, no, I have two Doctors that I need to put in there. One of which is, so this is actually on a kind of a sad note. So have you ever heard of Zane Van Wyck?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, so obviously he passed end of last year. And I did a Doctor for him, a Doctor who wasn't my Doctor, who was a completely new one. I kind of feel like I want to use that character again. I don't have the authority to do a proper tribute to Zane and the stuff that he did, but I feel like having that character in there would kind of help, But yeah, so there's a bunch of different Doctors. There's Dom's Chaotix Doctor in there again, brilliant.
I know there's one that I have finished writing and then in producing that you were particularly excited about because you're a big fan of this fan Doctor.
Barbara Benedetti! Oh God.
And she passed away quite a while ago now. She was
30 years ago. 30 years ago.
And I got in contact with the creator of those fan films quite a while back because I didn't know that Barbara had passed. So I contacted him just saying, can I use this Doctor in the Endgame Saga? And he was very polite. Actually, I think I asked about the DVDs first, seeing if there were any available for that fan film. Which he just said, just go on Daily Motion. But I want those physical discs, damn it. I need those physical discs. I got his permission to do kind of tribute to her Doctor, which also in a way is a tribute to my dad as well. It's because it does go over a lot of grief It's not heavy. It's not a heavy story. It's definitely not a heavy story. It's more of it's a love letter to her era. There's a cameo from a villain in there. And it just it's it's like it's kind of like the Tenant My Reward segment, but for the Benedetti Doctor with a special cameo. And yeah,
And I think for the Benedetti Doctor, that's deserved because that's one of the seminal doctors of fandom in a way. But yeah. But yeah, so I'm obviously, and the last thing, to be fair, the last thing that I'm working on for you is can I talk about that?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
Not too
So
much, but go ahead.
not too much. Okay. So I'll talk about the first story, but there's more. So basically, I had an idea that sort of occurred to me like a little while ago, which was basically imagine doing an alien story with just like the War Doctor in it, because fucking John Hurt. And then I was like, yeah, but I'd want to be in that too. And then I was just like, my Doctor and the War Doctor versus the alien. And then I was like, Rory does crazy fun stuff like that. I'll just pitch it to him. And then I was like, no, you know what? I'll just pitch an entire series of these crazy crossovers to him. So yeah, we've got an entire series of crazy crossovers. One fan doctor, one canon doctor, one random franchise from out there. Keep moving. But yeah, so the one that is like the first one is me, the War Doctor, the alien. And I had a funnily enough, as strange as it is to be asking this on a podcast, I've got a couple of questions that I sort of want to ask about that. So
sure.
So I put Amanda Ripley from Alien Isolation in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Should I have the War Doctor actually look like Kane from the Nostromo? No, as in, so obviously Amanda will have seen pictures of the crew of the Nostromo. Should she look at, the War Doctor and be like, holy fuck you, Kane?
yeah, let's do it. Because of course,
yes.
John Hurt was a heavy part of the Alien films as that character. So,
not again. So yes, I'm going to do that. Thank you. That's so yeah, I'm doing that now. That's the thing.
Yep.
Alien. I started a piece of soundtrack for it based on the Alien Isolation soundtrack today. So I'm gonna have to send you. It's gonna be freaking awesome. But yeah, so there's gonna be a whole series of those. And the one other thing I'll say is, we were talking about it originally being narrated by the architect, but then I was sort of leery of that, if only because having a bunch of stories that's seemingly a little bit distant from traditional Doctor Who, narrated by the architect,
sounds a bit too much like Remnants.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said that to Dom as well, and he was like, "Oh yeah, no, have it be someone else." So I created someone else. And yeah, I don't know if you saw that little screenshot that I sent to the group chat. Actually,
I'll have to look at it because I haven't been on the group chat today. I'll have to.
So I think it was last night that I sent it, and yeah, so that character is called the Wright, as in the shipwright or the playwright or the something else right. And the Wright creates stories. He likes creating stories. Stories are fun, and if they don't go quite the way he wanted, it's fine. But if you try and stop him creating stories, God help you. And I'll actually, if you like, I'll read to sort of close us out. I'll read the opening monologue that I've written for this character from this first episode.
1 second, I'll just bring. I'll talk about a few more projects, and then we'll close it off with that. Then, of course, I've got quite a few big projects coming up. I mean, there's one you are creating a theme for that I came up with a few days ago, actually, which was completely out of the blue because I saw a Twitter post, which basically went over this scene that was cut from Journey's End. That was it was a very I could just envision the scene in my mind, and it's brilliant. I see why it was cut, obviously for time, and it was
budget as well.
Yeah, and budget.
No, because you've got to think that that scene they would have had to create whole new sets and locations and costumes and everything. Yeah,
but yeah, basically what it was is it's the backstory of Davros, which is insane, but amazing. And there was a shit ton cut from Journey's End, like a shit ton. Like out of every episode in Doctor Who history, that is probably got the most interesting cutscenes. Like
That and Time of the Doctor, I'd say.
Oh yeah, oh definitely. But like the Prime Minister was supposed to be exterminated, which to be fair was reused, and obviously, yeah. Um and the Shadow Proclamation was supposed to have like a shit ton of cameos, like the huge amount of cameos. The Davros backstory, the Doom Dalek fight at the end was cut. But I wanted to take the scene, and Jack Reeves is starring as the 10th Doctor. Obviously, he's a natural at that voice. I've got John Ryan, who is voicing a character in my fan film, which Jed is also scoring, by the way. Which is that fan film series we've been talking about fan films today. It's very ambitious for what it is, but it's also very grounded and very budgeted, obviously. But I've obviously put quite a bit of money into it, but I hope it turns out well. I've got a very ambitious scene for that, which wasn't scored by Jed. It was scored by someone else, but I've talked to you about the scene, Jed. I won't say too much about it, but it's a music-based scene.
It'll be good.
I just say that.
It'll be really good.
I just hope I can do it because it's a scene I can run in my head like again and again and again, and I know
You'll get there. You'll get there. You'll get there.
And so I've got a lot planned going on, a lot of smaller projects alongside the bigger ones. I want to finish off Quantum Locked, which is the Weeping Angel Doctor one, which uses the imagery of the Doctor being a Weeping Angel in a different way. There's also more Torchwood, hopefully. There's a Missy podcast type one, which is just Alia just going completely bonkers in her Missy impression, which she does anyway, and she does it masterfully. And
God,
yeah, and it's completely bonkers on another level compared to any of my other stuff. And so I've got a lot planned, and the Endgame saga, which is
massive,
bonkersly massive, unfathomable amount of stuff,
and yet somehow it works.
And it will just get more and more crazier, more and more confusing, but hopefully easy enough to follow. But yeah, anyways, do you want to do your reading?
Yeah,
and then
I'll do this, and then we'll close out. So there you are.
Are you sitting comfortably, everyone? Ladies and gentlemen, sit down, sit down, sit down. Get a cup of coffee. Not Coca-Cola. Not Coca-Cola. I know. I see you drinking your Coca-Cola.
Don't do Coke. I will send the Glockter after you. I see you, Spoon. Right. There you are. I was beginning to wonder. For a long time, you see, I have been waiting. Yes, waiting for you. You see, I have stories that must be told, stories that must be shared. For what is a good story without an audience? You have heard stories, yes, many stories in this place. It is a home of stories. Stories, I think, with characters you know, and some perhaps you do not. That is the way of things, yes, the way of stories. That they will sometimes give you the familiar, and sometimes they will give you that which you did not ask for. You did not ask for these stories, but you may enjoy them nonetheless. These ones concern, or mostly concern, the Doctor. Yes, the Doctor. You know them, yes? He and she and they, Time Lords of Gallifrey, except, of course, when they are not. Yes, you will enjoy these stories, I think. But I have rambled on, yes? Too much. And now we must find the Doctor acting, as the Doctor always does, in answer to a distress call. Yes, a typical act for the Doctor. But not a typical call. Yeah, I can't hear you. Is that me? Is that...
Yeah.
Ah, you're back. Hi.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait for this series to play out. It's gonna be really fun, really bonkers. Like, if you've seen stuff on my channel before, which if you haven't, please subscribe.
If
This
you
is-
haven't, how did you find this?
but if you haven't yet, please subscribe. And there goes my webcam. But
Pray for his webcam, everybody. Thoughts and
Mm.
prayers and F's in the chat for his webcam.
But yeah, so that series is going to be completely bonkers in every way imaginable, in the best way possible, hopefully, and it will be insane. Completely
Yes, it will.
insane.
Insane. Insane.
Yeah, so that's a great way to close this out, I suppose. Thank you for being honest. You've got my stolen college guest star award of approval. Now you can know if you were right, I guess.
But now I'll know that I was right. Oh god. Now then, and on that bombshell,
Yes.
take care, everybody.
Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and check out Jed's channels, and yeah, check out audios, and yeah, have a great evening or afternoon or morning or whatever. It's all kind of time wimey. Anyway,
Bye.
bye bye.